Okay, well, this is an interesting experience, right? This is one of our first, it is the first segment that we'll be learning via video. And as you recall, this is part of the research study that you guys may or may not have agreed to participate in. But nonetheless, we are still learning about three concepts in this manner. So the first one that we're going to learn in this way is about stress. We started talking last week about stress production and overall the suprasegmental characteristics of speech. And today, I'm allowed to do pointing gestures for everybody, right? Today we're going to be talking about stress for just a little bit. As it says on your screen, what is stress? What's the degree of prominence within a word, and that's within a particular syllable. So we're going to learn whenever we say something like, let's do pathology. Pathology. Where is the stress in that? So you can think pathology, and you can get an idea where the loudest and longest and highest pitched syllables are within a word. What's the definition? So part of stress is that there's a greater motoric effort that goes into producing stress. And that's compared to unstressed syllables. Sometimes we refer to those as strong syllables and weak syllables. So for a strong syllable, they are going to have this motoric effort that's greater than a weak syllable. A weak syllable are like those schwas that we talk about, right? So whenever we say something like a head, we talked about that being really weakly stressed, whereas head has that higher punch to it. It's a strong syllable. A head. Head has greater motoric effort because it is louder, it is longer, and it has higher frequency. Okay, and that's what this is saying. Remember we talked last time about acoustic correlates versus perceptual correlates of stress. So here we have duration, intensity, and pitch. What are those? Duration, intensity, and pitch. Well, pitch is associated as a perceptual correlate. Intensity actually is a good acoustic correlate, and duration is both. Intensity, if we want to say what the perceptual correlate would be, it would be loudness. And then for pitch, the acoustic correlate would be FO. Just because your book talks about this, but it gets a little bit confused sometimes. Stress is part of rhythm, but rhythm is not always stress. So rhythm of speech is that we have this underlying rhythm of speech. English has an underlying strong, weak, strong, weak, strong, weak, strong, weak syllable structure. Whereas so what's an example of that? Well, most of our words that are 2 syllables long have strong, weak syllable or stress structure. Whereas in France, we have weak, strong, weak, strong, weak, strong. Think Paris, baguette, right? So we go from weak to strong. But that's the underlying rhythm of speech, and it differs, like I said, for different languages. Spanish is syllable time, where it's not really so stressed. Most syllables are just kind of punched out one by one. Okay? But stress is a part of rhythm, and again, is modulated by these acoustic changes that's based upon motoric effort. Okay, so we're going to come back to this, but I'm going to give you some examples too. But it helps to point out that we're talking about multisyllabic words when we're talking about stress. We can talk about stress within an utterance and say, okay, well, function words like and the and is and this are weakly stressed within a greater context compared to words like the cat, right? So we can talk about that, but we're going to really focus on individual words that have more than one syllable, or multisyllabic words like we talked about last time. Okay. So what's a couple examples to work through? So I have 3 up here, and each have 3 syllables in length. The first one is Wichita. You guys say it now. Wichita. Wichita. Okay, think about where the stress is. Compare that with the next one, which is position. 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 Wichita. Wichita. Position. Okay? And then the last 3 syllable example I have up there, again, we should be hearing slight differences, not slight, we are hearing differences of where stress is on these 3 syllable words. Kangaroo. 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 Okay? Let's map them onto each other and just think about these differences. Wichita. Position. Kangaroo. So we should be hearing that each of these words have stress, primary stress, that firm fullness stress on one of these syllables and they're all different. So where's Wichita? Wichita. First syllable. Position, well, we're going in order. You kind of figuring it out. I'm leading you there for these, right? Position, position. So we have it on the second syllable there. And then lastly, kangaroo, kangaroo, on the last syllable. First syllable, second syllable, third syllable. Now that we kind of get the general idea about stress assignment, let's think about three specific terms that we're going to apply just for two-syllable words. Okay? So the first is trochees. Sometimes we use the word trochaic as the descriptor as well. But whenever we're talking about the noun version, it's called a trochee. What's a trochee? Two-syllable words, I just said that, right? And these are the most frequent two-syllable stress structures in English. I just told you it's a rhythm, it's a stress rhythm of weak, or strong to weak in English. So we would expect that two-syllable words in English then would mostly have strong, then weak syllables. So we have robot, robot. Another example that I added was tiger, tiger. And then heather, heather. All are trochees. They have a trochaic stress rhythm pattern. Iambs, in contrast, are words that are having the weak then strong syllable structure. So what are some examples of weak, strong words that are two syllables? Giraffe, giraffe. Okay, you do that with me. Giraffe. Do you hear how that's different? If we were going to say it with strong stress on that first syllable, it would sound more like giraffe. Giraffe. Hear that difference? Giraffe. Second example I have up there is machine. Machine. Okay? It's sounding more like that ahead. Ahead example that we have used already as example of weakly stressed schwa. In an occurrence where it's in that first syllable followed by a strong syllable, and I am. Lastly, I gave another French word, borrowed word from French, baguette, right? Baguette. So if we wanted to say baguette with a trochaic pattern, it'd sound like baguette, baguette. Well, that doesn't seem to make any sense, right? It sounds more natural whenever you say it as baguette. Same thing, we could take my name. You said it was a trochee, right? Heather. If we produced it as an iamb, it'd sound more like Heather, Heather. Sounds kind of exotic and all, right?